Alright, it looks like I'm live again. Alright, so unfortunately, it is too late for me to continue with the Kureiji Ollie, but I will finish the Murasaki Shion and uh, my Oshi deck. So I was on the first Murasaki Shion. Let's see. Looks like it froze. There we go.
There we go. All right, got that back.
Alright.
All right.
So
Next up, we have the first Murasaki Shion. So my settings did not take, so I'm gonna
There's that. Wow. Just really gone downhill. Right, but we have first Murasaki Shion. Now, this one has a bloom effect. Where you look at the top three characters, or top three cards, my bad, of your deck and add a blue or purple holomem from them to hand. And then the rest go to the bottom of the deck. What is going on with this? There you go. And also, in addition to that, she has a one cheer 40 damage attack. Okay, next up, we have second Murasaki Shion, 200 HP. She also has a bloom effect where you can roll a dice once. If it's 4 or greater, reattach a cheer from. Why does this keep turning off? You reattach a cheer from your opponent's stage to one of your opponent's holomems. So the same effect that was happening earlier, where you can move a cheer from one character to another on your opponent's board. And her attack deals 50 bonus damage to green, 80 base, 3 cheer. And it deals 20 special damage for each of your opponent's center holomem's cheers. Each of your opponent's center holomem cheer. Oh, okay. So yeah, so for each cheer on your opponent's center holomem, it deals an additional 20 to your opponent's center and collab. I need to figure out what's going on with this. Why is it turning off? Okay. There's that. Mm-hmm. Next up, we have our spots. So, starting off, we have Magical Girl Shion. She has a collab effect, as is usual with these. Roll a dice. If it's even, reveal an event from deck and add it to your hand, which again is used to add the explosion magic or magic dresser. And she also has a one sheer 20 damage attack, 70 HP. Next up, we have Magical Girl Luna. She has the same damage basically, one sheer 20 damage. And you can roll a dice. If it's odd, you reveal a purple or yellow cheer from your cheer deck and send it to your back holomem specifically. And then you shuffle the cheer deck. Now this helps you set up a play for in the background, just like gets a cheer onto a character that'll be put into play next turn. And finally, we have 2 copies of Magical Girl Marine. If it decides to load. her collab effect, roll a dice. If it's even, you reveal a fan from deck and add it to hand, then shuffle the deck, which for that one is going for Shioko. That's the that is the Shion, the Murasaki Shion deck. And of course, we have the Oshi card. Yep. Which, as I did explain Hey earlier, but she also has her SP Oshi skill, which is a once per game. And if you're so when your purple center Holoman used arts, deal 50 special damage to your opponent's center Holoman for each of your opponent's center Holoman's cheers. So what this deck is doing is it wants to add a bunch of cheer from maybe back Holomem or other Holomem to your center and then use that to deal a large amount of damage. All while Shioko and buffs your attack and causes you to not take special damage. And while your other magics buff your damage or help you weaken a character to kill. And finally, for my Oshi. Of course, my Oshi being Mori Calliope. Now, this one actually has a pretty easy tie-in to a one-piece deck, that being Gecko Moria, with a heavy focus around the archive, as using the archive allows you to... Okay, I'll need to figure this out before next stream, hand cam stream, but... So, using the archive to utilize Mori's effects by sending cards to the archive. My bad. But by doing that, it then, of course, sets up perfectly for Mori Calliope's backup in this case. Which, right now, laying out all the Mori stuff. So we have all the Mori Calliope cards setting up for the help of a familiar face from a stream today, actually. That being Takanashi Kiara. Yep, she's went over her and Louis' deck earlier. Apologies that my camera keeps freezing. I don't know why my phone's shutting off. It shouldn't be while the app is still running, but it's deciding it doesn't want to work. But this one runs a relatively small core for Takanashi Kiara, mainly focused around drawing cards and getting characters that I can send to the archive. So we already know what all these do, so I won't go over the Kiara package again. Should I run more of the Kiara package? Possibly, but I'll leave that up to. What's next? And 2 supporting cards that are not part of this archetype. All right, so let's get through these while my phone decides it does not want to work properly. First off, we have Death Sensei. So this is a mascot. Whoever it's attached to gains a bonus 20 HP, and it gains the ability that if it's attached to Mori, all cheer requirements for arts on Mori, it becomes generic. So this really helps out with running Takanashi Kiara. Okay, I need this to work and stop shutting off. But that really helps her when working with Takanashi Kiara, because any of the red cheer that gets equipped to Mori becomes irrelevant. The end of the stream is just going to be scuffed, I guess. My bad. I'll try to get this figured out before next time. But next up, we have the tool, Mori Calliope's Scythe. This gives a bonus 10 damage to arts, and if it is attached to a first or greater Mori Calliope, you can archive the top card of this deck when it's attached. So once again, it just plays into that whole graveyard strategy for Mori Calliope. And then that plays in turn into Takanashi Kiara. Next up, of course, we have the generic debut for Mori Calliope, 90 HP. Not great, but not the worst. But she has a pretty good attack. One generic cheer for First Disciple of the Grim Reaper, 30 damage plus, and if you have a Holomem in your archive, it gains an additional 10 and becomes 40 damage. So that's pretty good. For a 1 cheer, 40 damage. 90 HP isn't the greatest, but it does get rounded out a little bit with Death Sensei, where he gives bonus HP. So that's the generic, and of course, running 6 of her. I might honestly cut the Moris down a little bit. Just because some of these aren't really that necessary. And there's a few cards I wanted to add. Possibly a slightly larger Kiara package. But next up, we have the other debut Mori Calliope. 80 HP. Has a collab effect called Showtime. And you can archive a Holomem from your hand. And one of your Holomem with Myth on stage gets Arts plus 20, which Kiara and Mori are both Holomyth, so they will both get that bonus damage. And 2 cheer for a 20 damage attack is pretty bad, honestly, but really what you're looking for there is the collab effect, so it's not the worst it could be. Next up, we have our first Mori, 130 HP. Not bad. And we actually have a bloom effect on this one. Alright. Where you can archive 2 Holomem with the same tag from your hand to draw 2 cards. Now, these are the tags down here, which every card in this deck is Myth, and EN, so either one of those will work, and just draw 2 cards by archiving 2 of those, which again play into the Mori and Kiara strategy. And 2 cheer for 50 damage. Not too bad. Not too shabby there. Next up, we have our other first. This one, 140 HP, so not bad. And this one has a bloom effect where it can return one of either the mascot or the tool from archive to hand. So let's say one of your Mori Calliope that's equipped with them gets knocked out. You can add it back to hand. And finally, it has a 2 cheer, 30 damage attack that gains an additional 30 if a tool or mascot is attached to this Holomem. So, for instance, you have a Mori Calliope Scythe or a Death Sensei in Graveyard. You bloom into this Mori Calliope, add that back to hand, equip it to them, and that becomes a 60 damage hit instead of a 30. So, pretty good, especially with how quickly you'll cycle cards into the archive. And next up, we have the second Mori Calliope, 200 HP. Pretty good, pretty good. And has a bloom effect. Soul Voice. Reveal 1 card from deck and archive it, then shuffle the deck. So this can be used to get another Holomem into the archive, which again, her final attack is a 80 base, or 80 plus base, deals an additional 50 to blue, is 3 cheer cost, and if you have 4 or 4 or more with myth in your archive, it gains plus 40, so that's 120 base. And if you have 8 or more, it gains an additional 40, being a 160 base damage with a bonus 50 against blue. So that's honestly pretty good. And lastly, we have our out of character support card. We have Mikurone, which this is a pretty good event. It is a limited event, so you can only play one limited event per turn. And its effect is you draw 2 cards and roll a dice. If it is 3, 5, or 6, you reveal a debut Holomem from deck and add it to hand. Or if it is a 2 or 4, you draw a 3rd card. So that's pretty good. Fun fact about that one. My most expensive card I got for Hololive is the signed Altart Mikurone. Same card I just showed, but this one is a pretty penny. But that is my Oshi's deck. I am thinking about changing the ratios a little bit, to be honest, but for now, this one works pretty good. It can get a decent number of cards into the graveyard, and actually a bit faster than the Takane Louis variant, so that's definitely an upside. I do know someone else who streams who might be interested in streaming the game, so if we get together with that, might be able to actually play on stream, which would be exciting. But yeah, I would love to be able to play this on stream. That was the decks, and of course, very excited that with the Morikleipi deck being my Oshi. But I think that will have to do it for this stream. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to the Kureji Ollie tonight with my phone dying halfway through. I'll definitely be able to get through that and show that deck off later, but that's going to have to do it for tonight. Hope you have a good one.